A reading from the Gospel of Matthew. While Jesus was saying these things to them, suddenly a leader of the synagogue came in and knelt before him, saying, "My daughter has just died, but come and lay your hand on her, and she will live." And Jesus got up and followed him with his disciples. Then suddenly a woman who had been suffering from a hemorrhage for 12 years came up behind him and touched the fringe of his cloak. For she said to herself, "If I only touch his cloak, I will be made well." Jesus turned and seeing her said, "Take heart, daughter. Your faith has made you well." And instantly the woman was made well. When Jesus came to the leader's house and saw the flute players and the crowd making a commotion, he said, "Go away, for the girl is not dead, but sleeping." And they laughed at him. But when the crowd had been put outside, Jesus went in and took her by the hand, and the girl got up. And the report of this spread throughout that district. Two miraculous stories for us from Matthew's Gospel. I wonder if you have ever had a problem that just was so intractable, so impossible to fix, could not be addressed, despite your having tried every and exhausted every option and brought other people into it and simply could not get to a resolution, could not get to wholeness or healing. If so, then you have something in common and can drop yourself right down into this story, today's section of Matthew's Gospel, both of these stories. The desperate synagogue leader who, beyond all rational thought, has come and says to Jesus, throws himself at Jesus' feet and says, "If you will just come and touch my daughter, I know that she'll live again." I mean, death is the ultimate boundary and barrier. It's the ultimate unfixable thing for most of us. Modern science has given us some really amazing stories of people who cross that line and then come back. But for the most part, when you're dead, you're dead. And so we all know that. And so this synagogue leader isn't making a rational request. He isn't thinking, "I've thought about it, and I think the thing to do is to ask Jesus." He is simply throwing himself at Jesus, knowing what Jesus has been capable of, throwing himself at Jesus' feet and saying, "Please help me. I know you can if you want to. I know you can make my daughter live again. I know you can make her well." Likewise, not quite the same barrier of life and death, but this woman who in some ways might as well have been dead for suffering from hemorrhages for 12 years. And you know that she must have taken every medicine and herbal remedy that every doctor or midwife or friend or quack would sell to her to try and stop this bleeding that not only, I'm sure, left her exhausted and absolutely spent, but also made it impossible for her to be in community in fullness because of the purity laws of her time. Left as someone who was not able, not unlike the lepers that we hear of in Matthew's Gospel, living, but living as a sort of living death because they have to live outside of societal embrace. And she too, who had certainly, I'm sure, exhausted every option, knows somehow, has this internal knowledge, if I can just touch the hem of his garment, I know I will be made well. I know it. And she does. She doesn't ask permission. She simply sneaks up on Jesus and grabs the hem of his robe. Jesus turns around and blesses her and says, "Your faith has made you well. Go now, my daughter." If you haven't had an unsolvable problem, whether it's of the ultimate import, or if it's just something more low-grade and nagging, if there's something you've tried everything to fix yourself, or brought in experts, or brought in family, or tried willpower, or tried remedies, or tried everything we can find on the internet, if you have just beat your head against a wall and found there's something in your life that keeps you from living fully as who you are, keeps you from wholeness, keeps you from health, then perhaps these two stories can give you, can give all of us hope that there might just be a way that offering ourselves, throwing ourselves on God, throwing ourselves at the feet of Jesus and saying, I know if you just will touch my life, God, I can be made whole, I can be made well. To see if in fact this is something, if we haven't tried it yet, or we have tried it and it's not been fruitful yet, if we try again, because what the witness of the gospel tells us is that for those of us who can throw ourselves at the feet of our loving God, who can grab on to that hem of his robe, who can say, I know if you'll just touch me, I will be made whole, or the one I'm praying for will be made whole. Perhaps this story can give us courage and encouragement to try again, or try for the first time if we haven't before, to ask God for what we need to make ourselves available to the healing touch and the healing power of God in our life. So if there's something like that in your life, I hope that the prayer that you bring will bring you the wholeness that the woman and the man received in today's gospel. And I hope that in any case you will find yourself ever more deeply connected to God. On this day, may God bless you and keep you this day and always. Amen.